with an integrated practice here in Central Florida. As our listeners know, my goal for this podcast is to define and demystify the thyroid gland and thyroid-related medical conditions. By providing information in easy to understand format, I hope to help patients better understand the ways in which their bodies work and to help them thrive. Dawn Sheffield, my friend and co-host,
an exceptionally lucky patient,
is here with me again for today's episode. Welcome, Dawn.
Thank you. And you know what? I am always glad to be here, as you know, but especially today.
Yeah.
Because we have a very interesting and insightful guest, and I'm very excited about it.
That's right. Today we have the privilege of talking with Jennifer Sierra, LMHC. She's a licensed mental health counselor in Orlando, Florida. We asked Jennifer to be on the show today because, like us, she is very interested in mental health and in the ways that the thyroid health and mental health are so connected. So Jennifer, welcome. I'm so very glad you're here with us today.
Thank you so much for having me on the show today. I am happy to be here, and I want to thank you for what you're doing here. It's such a great resource for people, and I'm glad to be a part of it.
Well, thank you. And Jennifer, this is my co-host, Dawn.
Hello, Jennifer. And it is just such a pleasure to meet you. I have so enjoyed learning about how you help folks to live our best lives. So thank you for that.
So Jennifer and I both discovered that we have a deep interest in increasing awareness about a holistic approach to thyroid health that includes mental health as well. Mental health and physical health go hand in hand, and our thyroid's part of that. So which is why we asked you to be with us here today. So Jennifer, as I said, we're delighted to have you here with us. We are excited to better acquaint our listeners with your crucial work with mental health counseling. As I said earlier, Jennifer is a licensed mental health therapist, and she owns Holistic Mental Health Counseling in Orlando, Florida. We have so much we'd like to discuss with you today, Jennifer. So we'd like to dive right in and start asking some questions. Is that okay with you?
Sounds good. Absolutely.
Jen, will you explain to our listeners the education and training you had to complete to earn the licensed mental health counselor, or LMHC?
Sure. So I earned my master's degree in counseling and psychology from an accredited program, and that included 1,000 hours of supervised clinical practicum.
Wow.
And
wow. Yeah, that seems like a big number. Yeah.
And then from there, I registered as an intern with the Florida Board of Social Work and completed 1,500 hours of direct client therapy under supervision. And then I had to sit for the National Clinical Mental Health Counseling examination. That's administered by the National Board for Certified Counselors. And I passed, and I submitted my application to the Florida Board, and they granted me my license.
Well, it sounds like a pretty thorough certification process.
Yes, it certainly does. My goodness.
Absolutely. Yes, it was a long road.
Jennifer, I believe you have to also complete continuing education requirements to keep your license to practice current. Is that also correct?
Yes, I do. There are 30 hours of continuing education every 2 years that I have to complete. And as part of that, I complete at least 12 hours in integrative approaches, and that helps me stay up to date with the latest research.
So do you prefer the term therapist or counselor? Is there a real difference, or is there one that's preferred in general?
I don't have a preference. They tend to be used interchangeably. So I don't have a preference. And, for people that are out there searching for someone, I think what matters most is just finding someone who has the experience with what they're going through, and that feels like a good fit.
I was curious about how you became interested in serving as a mental health therapist or counselor.
I'm naturally a very curious person. I care deeply about others. I love getting to know people and learning about their life stories. And, I believe that everyone has strengths and unique wisdom that they carry with them. So being a therapist seemed like a natural fit. I love what I do. And I think it's just an incredible honor to be able to sit with people and sometimes help them find strength and wisdom in their story when they can't see it for themselves.
And it's a tremendous amount of trust that someone puts in your hands too.
Yes.
Yes. So I just kind of want to point out that, in medical school, we don't get a whole lot of training in mental health. I mean, I think maybe we had one course on it. And yeah, we know how to prescribe medicines, but we don't get like into, and I don't think things have changed too much in med school on that front. So we might be able to prescribe like a pill for medicine for depression or anxiety, but we don't really have the skill set that someone like you have to really sit down and talk to a patient about mental health. So seeing a licensed mental health counselor, I think is huge. And I think it's invaluable to a patient because our mental health is so tied into our overall health and things like stress, they impact our health so much. So seeing someone like you, I think is so valuable and life altering in a really, really positive way. So you picked a great field. So how do you define mental health? I know I just used it a couple of times. What do we mean when we're talking about mental health and mental illness? If you could kind of like, is a different term that's better than mental illness?
I don't really think there's a better term for mental illness. I think it's, important to be able to use that term because that's part of breaking the stigma.
Right.
And mental health, I would say, is just your ability to function well, um, your emotional health, and your ability to cope with everyday stress.
Yeah, and stress, look, stress is huge. But I think you hit the nail on the head. It's removing the stigma of having of mental health and mental illness being something that's bad. It's just like anything else. It's part of our health.
Exactly.
Just
Just going back to a previous thing you said when you mentioned that everyone carries with them a unique wisdom. I thought that was great. Um, I'm just wondering how we might know where we are on that continuum of mental health, mental illness, mental health. How do we know where we are in your practice, I guess, at any given time? How can we tell where we are?
I think a great way to think about that is just what is normal for you.
Right.
So mental health for you is going to look very different than for somebody else. So if you're noticing any changes in your mood or you're feeling like you don't want to socialize anymore, or any changes in your sleep or appetite, that's a good way of seeing if there's something going on with you. And the same for loved ones, noticing any changes in behavior, irritability, or isolation. If you do see that, not being afraid to ask, hey, how are you doing? I'm noticing some changes. But the key is really paying attention to what's different for you or for that person, not necessarily, comparing them to like a textbook definition, because it really does look different for everyone.
Oh, that's so true. I mean, and I think that keeping, it's like keeping tabs on yourself. How are you
Yeah,
doing? What's going on? Like, what's different? What's better? What might be worse? And symptoms are rarely what we expect them to be. I'm thinking. So, and as you mentioned, they're different for every single person. Do you think like that's how people determine, hey, there's something going on. Maybe I should get some help. Maybe I need to talk about this, what's going on. Is that something that people tend to say, wake up one day and say, you know what, I think I need help with this? Or is it something they tend to brew on for a while and
it is a slow process. And I think um, definitely what helps with that is being open about mental health with the people that are closest to you so that you're able to have those conversations regularly and you can notice those changes in yourself. And then your loved ones can pick up on those shifts and not be afraid to let you know. It can take a while because, it doesn't happen overnight. So um, sometimes it'll take somebody in your life noticing and bringing it to your
point it out?
attention before you reach out to get help.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and just everyday stress,
Yeah.
it adds up. And sometimes, big things happen and people get overwhelmed and they reach out.
One of the things we've talked about too, Jennifer, is how therapies can differ amongst people. And So one of the things that I know is that a whole lot of folks like horses, and I was so delighted to see that you are working toward an equine therapy program. And I think a lot of people would be